But first to the brave new world where media companies are charging for online news content. Like News Corporation before it, Fairfax has recently announced that it'll be making readers pay to access its websites. The publishers are fighting to claw back revenues after years of falling newspaper circulations. But as Bridget Brennan reports, there are big questions over whether their plan will work.
Are Australians ready to fork out to access online news content?
Web's normally free everywhere, so the news, if they start paying someone, it'll be on there free somewhere, so it's up to them really. It just means people will find it elsewhere.
I think in terms of the benefit, I suppose I would. Yeah. I'd prefer if it stayed free.
I think it's fair. They're providing a service, why wouldn't we have to pay for it?
Newspaper publisher Fairfax Media believes Australians are ready to pay. It recently flagged its intention to start charging for online news content. It already does so for access to the Financial Review. Fairfax is following in the footsteps of rival News Corporation. Its boss, Rupert Murdoch, says he's confident consumers worldwide are prepared to pay for journalism, if it's quality.
You know, they're very happy to pay for it when they buy a newspaper, and I think when they read it elsewhere, they're going to have to pay.
News Corporation is moving ahead with its plans to charge for online content. And the Times newspaper in London recently placed its website behind a paywall.
We'd rather have fewer people coming to our website, but paying.
Matthew Ricketson is a journalism professor at the University of Canberra and a former media editor of The Age newspaper. He says Australia's appetite for news and current affairs is as strong as ever.
This is about people's habits, their habits of reading, buying, selling, etc. And these habits can change and do change.
He says it's hard to predict whether the paid model will work, but if it does, smart marketing is the key.
It's about finding ways of enticing your readers to part with money as well as get access to the news and current affairs that they have been.
Newspaper sales have fallen dramatically in the last 10 years, as have advertising revenues. With new technologies like the iPad, companies like Fairfax are hoping to retain existing newspaper readers as well as attract new audiences to their websites. But there is always the threat that consumers might simply choose to get their news fix elsewhere. Bridget Brennan, ABC News.
Well, for more on this, I spoke to technology expert Ross Dawson, who advises businesses on how to prepare for the future. He says charging for online news content is a brave experiment that may well fail, but he says it has a better chance of succeeding in Australia than in other countries.
In Australia, there is actually a better chance in other countries that it can succeed, because we only have two major newspaper companies in Australia, which means there's less choice if both of those put up paywalls, as both have announced their intentions to do.
So how much do you think this might cost, and will it be done on a per-click basis or a subscription basis?
There is a number of different models for how this is done, and the Times is a charge per day or per week or per month on a subscription basis, and this is probably in the order of around $10 a month Australian. What we've also seen is that Financial Times, which is one of the most successful models for charging for online news, gives a certain amount away for free and then charges for some of the detailed content. So we don't know yet quite what models are going to be adopted by Fairfax and News in Australia. They're quite likely to provide some content for free and charge to get fuller access to the full news articles and analysis.
So do you think it'll work? Do you think people will be prepared to pay?
It's a grand experiment. We've already had a number of not very successful attempts to charge for online news, and some things have changed. People are clearly prepared to pay for news on the iPad, for example, and changing attitudes, for example, people are now prepared to pay for music. So there are better chances today than there have been before to be able to charge for online content, but still, most likely, these attempts will fail.
And is there any chance this could actually reinvigorate the newspaper market, as people say, well, I'll have to pay for the content online, I may as well just pay for the newspaper?
It's possible that, certainly what we are seeing is that newspapers are trying to bundle together both the print version and the online version and iPad versions to be able to, amongst other things, keep the print presses rolling. I think this will have a very small degree of success, if any. It is very difficult to get people to go back to print if they are really looking for the convenience of an iPad or tablet version or online news.
Okay, Ross Dawson, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.